these kids really have potential. And then there was just this huge gap where we kind of just fell through the cracks to some degree. And we sort of were the kids that were more average, and we didn't do very well in school, and we caused a lot of trouble, and we were bad. And like there was no teacher who was like, stop being bad, I see you have potential. Like no one said that to me. They were like, get out of here or I'll call the police. And so I think like no one was kidnapping us in their van to rescue us. You know, there was really no
that's what everyone's taking away from
none
today.
of that.
To be honest.
People are like, shut up with the queer stuff, go back to the story about that woman. There sadly was not that, but there were a few adults, including, you know, one of our piano teachers. She was extremely supportive, and it was very honest that our skill level around piano was but we were very entertaining. And she was like, you guys, you have a knack for songwriting, and that's really cool. When we started to play music, there was adults who started to see potential again.
But in terms of people noticing or seeing that maybe we were queer or gay or whatever.
Or different, yeah.
I don't think so, because we grew up in an amazing bubble of time that we had hackers. Okay, we had raves. Mm-hmm. We had like punk culture.
Did you have a soother? Like, did you go to raves?
I didn't have a soother, but we went to raves all the time, and so we were really alternative, and we had really long hair. And I don't think there was a teacher on the planet who thought that we were gay. I think they just thought we might be
hackers.
Gonna drop out.
Right.
I actually feel really sad because the two teachers that I really loved in high school have both passed away, and I hadn't thought about it for 20 years, but
one was gay, was?
No. Well, one was for sure gay, and
but was he? I don't think it was actually.
Are you kidding?
I think he had a wife.
No, Tegan.
Are you sure?
Yes. We'll talk about this later, but trust me, one of our teachers was very, very gay, and I've never thought, it's never mattered to me to know if he knew until recently, and I think it's because now I'm actually the age, I'm an adult age for the first time. I think, like, you know, in my 20s I still sort of skipped over, like, I'm just in my 20s, but now I'm really an adult, and as I've like started to mentor, and as I've started to think about, do I want to have kids, and also as I've started to think about the impact that I have on people as an adult, I've started to wonder more about these people, and if they knew that they had the impact they had on me. And unfortunately, two of the most significant ones are no longer around to ask. And you know, it's brought up a lot of grief for me, because I think, like Tegan was saying, not the kidnapping thing. Actually, for me, it was based on that. Like Tiny Soldiers movie. The woman of my dreams always came to the ceiling in the school and took me. But what? I know, it's really weird. But we were clearly not where we were supposed to be in any of these situations. But I so strongly desired being realized and being understood when I was a little kid. And I wonder if these two, they both happened to be men, but I really strongly remember wanting to be realized by both of them.
I know that both of you just went back, I think, for the first time to your high school, and I'm just so curious, like, thinking about these reflections now and the work that you've been doing for the past year and thinking about this, like, what was that like in terms of, like, going through these halls, and, you know, thinking about some of these things in terms of language and identity and isolation. And
you've been back to your high school?
Not actually to my high school, but to a high school, and that in and of itself
good enough
was revelatory. Yeah, because in your anyways, please.
Well, it's interesting, because I would agree. I've been to a couple high schools in the last, 20 years, 4 years since I graduated, and it's weird. All you have to do is set foot in a gym.
Yeah, it all comes back, right?
Yeah, and you're like walk past lockers, and you're just like, I'm never gonna stop dreaming that dream that I can't get into my locker. But it was cool to go back to Crescent Heights, which is where we went to high school. It hasn't changed that much. Well, it's more knick-knacky.
Like what kind of knick-knack?
There just was stuff everywhere.
Like, did they have Tegan and Sara bobbleheads?
No, it was beautiful. I mean, it's art. They went through the archive, and they blew up huge, beautiful prints from like the early, like the school was opened in 1913, I believe it was. So it's like incredible, and they were really proud. We had a wonderful tour by the principal there, who's doing amazing work there. They have a GSA there now, which is really wonderful. Yeah, it's huge.
Exactly. Like, isn't that surreal
No,
to be in that spot?
and here's the thing: is that it's so progressive and it's really awesome. One of our best friends is teaching there, and it's really changing, which is wonderful. But my one criticism was I was like, holy crap, you guys, it's gotten really knick-knacky. Do we need so much stuff all over the walls? Like, they were really proud of it. They're like, look at all the art and the flags and this and that. And I was like, so busy. But I will say this.
So
that
this
I found
was your internal criticism again, right?
That was my internal criticism.
You were
but
like,
on the outside,
my
I was
work
like,
is too busy.
Yeah.
You were projecting again about
I was
your
like, too slow.
songwriting. Yeah.
No, it was really wonderful. It was incredible to be back. It was neat to step back in the school because almost, I would say, probably for 15 of the 20 years, I've never wanted to go back. It's like a joke amongst us and our friends where they'll be like, should we go to the 10-year reunion? And I'm like, never, like, not gonna happen. It was actually really wonderful to go back. I think probably for me because I did feel like a loser in high school. And I felt really, really antsy to get out of there. And I knew that we had potential, and I would fight with my mom constantly when she would be like, you used to love school, you used to be so smart. Like, our mom had us at 20 and then had to go back to school as a university student as an adult and like take massive student loans, and it was really tough as a single parent, and she was just desperate for us not to follow in her footsteps, which I was like, don't worry, I'm not gonna get pregnant at 20 or get married to a man, so we're all good. But it didn't matter. In high school I had this rage, like real unhappy rage, because I just felt caged up. I felt so, like Sarah said, I felt invisible in high school. The year we were at Crescent, it was really overpopulated. We were in classrooms with over 40 kids, and I felt so invisible, which is wild because I was wearing the most colorful giant clothes you've ever seen, with like a Cat in the hat and like giant chain, and it's like I'm like
actually a cat?
Yeah, I'm like banging through the school, and like my teachers are like, your name again? And I'm like, really?
That still happens. I had the same doctor in Montreal for 10 years, and every time I came for my physical, she would be like asking me if would ask me questions like about my sexuality or about this or about that, and I was like, am I that forgettable? Like,
I don't. How many people they see? I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt.
Well, exactly. That is, they see a lot of people, but my teachers had no excuse.
10 years. I mean, she sees my body naked. Like, that's how forgettable I am. Even nude. She was like, I have tattoos. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. So every time I would see her, she would be like, you got those tattoos done correctly, right? And I was like, did she see like a documentary in the 1970s? Like, everyone has a tattoo. They don't get done inappropriately unless you were like at a kegger and someone did a stick and poke. Like,
Okay, so that's unfortunate. New doctor time. All right, so... But in high school, yes, I felt very invisible and I felt really sad, and I really wanted to get out of there. And for me, now I can't remember what the question was.
It's okay, it was about high school and like...
what it felt like to be back in there. So it was awesome to go back because I had felt so many of those negative feelings and they'd stuck with me through adulthood. And when people, like Calgary still thinks of us as their own, and I love that because I love Calgary. But inside, I would sometimes be like, yeah, but I kind of hated going to high school. Well, I hated junior high, and high school was only slightly less traumatizing. And it was amazing to go back because, they have like a little photo of us up in the archive room, and they were really excited, and the kids at the GSA were so cool. They were so articulate, and they're further ahead than Sarah is about her sexuality at this point. Like,
that's maybe true, actually. Like, some of these
so
kids,
confident and wonderful, and it was really cool to go back and remember, like, I can remember sitting in the seat at graduation as the teachers on stage and the valedictorian and other people were talking about all these people who I was like, did these kids go to our school? Like, they're like, Tina's gonna go on to do, as you know, she's whatever. And I was like, who are these people? And I just was like, where did we go to school? Was I here? I felt like so bad, like I'd wasted my time there or something. And to go back and be like, okay, we pulled it together. Like, we're not total pieces of shit. You know what I mean? Like, which is what I thought I was. I wanted to escape because I wanted to prove that I wasn't nothing. And not like, I'm gonna be in a band, not that story, but like, just like I can stay awake for 45 minutes at a time,
School was really boring.
Like going back this time?
No, I loved it. I loved it, and I loved seeing the GSA because it's the classroom, the designated classroom, like permanently there, decorated with all the rainbows, is directly across from where I used to have my grade 11 English class. And I had the biggest secret crush on a girl in that class, and I was already like kind of hyperventilating when we got up there, and then I was like, this feels fitting that like my secret gay crush was like, if I could have known then that when I would come out of that classroom, I would, 20 years later, I would be back, and there was like a whole, club for kids that would have been like me. I mean, it was really surreal. And, back when we were younger, there was jokes about, the drama kids, or the band kids, or the whatever. And even then, I never felt like I could find my group. And I don't know if I would have participated in a GSA. It's hard to say because I just really had, my mind was so poisoned back then. But like, in that room, something is healing for me, to be with people who maybe...
So Sara has re-enrolled in high school. She's going back, you guys, grade 10. Give her a hand, it's huge.
No. Hopefully it won't take that dramatic of a change in life.
Healing is a really good word, though.
It was healing for me to see kids who are surviving and who are living outwardly, because I think that really, ultimately what it comes down to is that while I was having relationships with girls and I was, it wasn't completely closeted, I was sharing what was going on with me with some people, that kind of the trauma of hiding it for so many years, it was amazing to me to see like 15, 16, 17-year-olds who are getting to experience what it is to be visible and to talk about it with their friends and to have grown-up people around them to say, hey, if you ever need anything additionally, like, we're here. They had so much confidence that I sort of feel sad for little Sara, the little version of me that just didn't have that.
But I mean, I think about, you probably blew their minds being there, right? Like, you have done so much with your life for little Sara that you now get to go back.
Yeah, but they don't know that, probably.
They barely know who we are. Robin had to tell them everything about us. They were like...
No, there was definitely kids who knew, but that's not necessarily like the age group that knows a ton about us, but they were excited. They were definitely in prep themselves, and they were stoked.
They're probably just excited they can keep their haircuts till they're 40. Like, they were like, if those old ladies can still have short hair, then we are good.
You know what the other cool part was? We had a broadcasting and communications class, which is where Sara and I made our first 2 records as Sara and Tegan. We were actually called Plunk. But it was cool to go back there. The room still exists. The equipment, it's like as if we were just there. It was all the same posters were up on the wall, and that was another really huge part, I think, of what saved us in high school.
I was just going to say, is like how did you get to music in the midst of all of this?
Well, that was the thing, was we both signed up for broadcasting and communications, and we were in different classes, and the teacher was super lax, and Sara remembers this better than me, but all the boys made like horror films. So the class, you could do like a radio project, or you could do a commercial, or you could make like a film, and then there was like an actual radio station as well. And I was actually not interested in any of those things, but we ended up making documentaries, both of us, about students. Sara did an amazing one about being a kid in the 90s, and like, too bad we weren't hoarders back, because we don't have a lot of this stuff, but we didn't hand in one of our projects, and Sara had this great idea that we make a demo.
Wow.
And asked our teacher, and he said, just do something. And so a bunch of kids from the class...
Who's that teacher?
His name's Mr. Lee. And apparently he comes by the school and he remembers us. But he let us do it, so we set up a couple afternoons after school, and we recorded our first demo, and then we did another one, and we did them in the class, and it was huge. For me, music, like I said, it's really saved me personally, and not just our music, but the music scene, because raves were full of really strange, weird, eccentric, alternative people, and I felt like that was a community. I agree with Sara, it didn't feel like my community, but everyone was so open-minded. And so even though I wasn't like, I did dance sometimes, for sure.
You danced.
Yeah, I did dance sometimes for sure, but I think that more than anything, I just loved
going into that room. You know, it was so loud and everyone was so colorful, and it was the same with punk gigs. I mean, the next weekend we'd be at Carpenters Union Hall in Calgary going to like a local punk gig. I just loved being around people who felt like they belonged to something, and like I have no idea if we liked the music or not half the time, but it just felt so good to be around people who liked something. And I think it's what really inspired Sarah and I to really invest in our community when we started to build our band, because I remember what it feels like to go to a concert, and remember what it feels like to go into a space and feel like you belong. You look around and all of us are so different looking, and yet we all came here for the same-ish reason, and that was profound for me. So like having our music, like Sarah and I could be at each other's throats, literally tearing each other down or banging on each other's door and yelling and screaming, but when Sarah finished a song, she needed me. She'd have to come over and be like, come help me record this. And like music created a bond between us, but everyone we knew and the city, and it was cool to be back in the school and see that room and get this wave of like, I really felt like I belonged there.
Well, listen, I have a million more questions for you, but we're going to turn it out to the audience. I just want to say,
talk so much.
No, but I just want to say, like, we are so grateful for this space. I mean, you brought us all the way back to the beginning of this conversation, is that, you know, you create spaces of belonging for all of us, and we're so, so grateful for that. And I don't know if you realize how much that means to us, but thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Let's give him a round of applause. Sorry, and I'm supposed to direct anyone in the audience. If you have a question, there's a mic in the back with a gentleman named Mike as well. And he will be there as a beacon to lead you to the mic.
Don't all rush there at once.
There we go.
Hey. Ooh.
Oh, hold on.
We good? Okay. Hi.
Hi.
It's so great to have you here. I think the three of you are incredible icons in terms of building opportunities for safer spaces for LGBTQ youth and all LGBTQ people. There is a lot of good activism that happens in the city, and especially in this campus. What are some key messages that you'd like to share with these champions at MacEwan who strive to make LGBTQ inclusion happen here?
I mean, you know, going back to one of your questions, a vast majority of the people who inspire me in my life right now are activists, are people who are living this every single day. This is not just work that they do as a hobby or because it's fashionable right now or there's an important election coming up. This is in your bones, and this is everyday life for you. And I mean it sincerely. Whatever word, hero, idol, the people right now that I think about every single day, the people who are leading, in my opinion, who are leading the world and the change that needs to happen are often the people who are working in the LGBTQ community. And so, I mean, I guess my only thing to say is please keep doing it. You're doing a great job. And I would say, like, we're continuing to learn. Our experience about going to Crescent and visiting the GSA was incredible, and this is not just specific to MacEwan, but all of us here in this room. Those spaces have to be there, and the continued pushback from a certain party in this country, in this province, to change the way a GSA works and to out kids to their parents, that conversation, even if they don't continue to push it, it causes tension in young people. It causes young people to feel stressed out. And we as a community of allies and LGBTQ people have to continue to fight for those spaces in high schools and junior highs, because like kids need it. And even the conversation publicly in the media, it's really hard. I get so many sad messages from kids who feel bad because their parents and the schools are fighting. And I hope all of us will remain vigilant. Like, marriage equality was not the end. We have to continue to fight for for our young people. And so I would say that. Vivek?
I sort of really echo a lot of your sentiments in terms of, like, I would have never gone to a GSA. Like, my self-hate in Edmonton was like peak self-hate, and like I would have been like, I don't want to be one of those people. Like, I remember getting invited to Edmonton Pride and I was like, I'm not one of those gays. So, but I think for me in university, just knowing that like queer organizations existed on campus was so meaningful, even though I didn't attend. So I think the thing that I always try and tell people that are doing this kind of work on campus is try not to judge the value of your work based on numbers, because that's the kind of statistical information that like upper management like often asks. But like this work, the work that you're doing, the work that people in this room are doing, you cannot qualify it by numbers, and that you might only have 5 people that come to a meeting, 3 people that come to a meeting, but you don't know the impact that just having your poster on a window, on a wall, in a hallway is having on queer people who may not necessarily be in a space to come to your meetings yet. So I think that's the big thing.
Such a good point.
Really pushing back against the emphasis on numbers.
Also, those people, I mean, to go back to Emmy, who really, truly changed the direction of my life with her education of me as a young person, she had a GSA. She was instilled with pride and language and confidence and self-esteem, and she was able to reach me. So, I mean, you're right about numbers, because it only takes one person to feel that way, totally, to have an impact. Because I know now I have a big impact on people, but I only have that impact on people because of one other person. Definitely not Tegan, just kidding.